Hello everyone again. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Frank Balinfi and I am the leader of the technical support team at TEL. Today I plan to talk about the functions and features of the IP bridge, which is a multi-purpose communicator. The most important points of the presentation will be the key functions of the device, the product models, and I will also talk about the hardware, and then we will go through the mobile application and the programming as well. Let's see the application areas for this product. Let me share my screen first. So you can use the device as an IP communicator for burglar alarm and fire alarm systems, or even as an IP-based control module with remote control options for automated remote control over the internet between equipments using dry contacts. The transparent serial port available on the device enables using the device as an interface for remote communication between equipments provided with an RS-232 interface. Let's see the key functions of the device. The device can receive the reports from an alarm control panel via the emulated phone line through BTMF contact ID protocol, and forwards these reports to the central monitoring station over the internet using three protocols. CRDC09 is available, the Telmon and the text protocol. The latest two are our own TEL protocols, which work with our own receivers. And you can send the reports up to 6 IP addresses, which means 6 receivers. The device also sends configurable push email and SMS messages about input events, and also about the events of the connected alarm system, which events you can filter in the device. Making phone calls from these is also possible with uploadable voice message. It uses voice over IP to send SMS messages and make calls. The Ethernet port enables usage with no extra costs, or you can use the variant with a modem for increased reporting reliability. About the inputs and the outputs of the device, it has 6 configurable normally open, normally closed, or end-of-line inputs. So you can use an end-of-line resistor on the inputs as well for the tamper protection of the loop. So it has dry contact inputs, which can generate custom events in the device, which you can configure them to send to the central monitoring station or notification to users. Okay. The device also has 6 normally open relay outputs, which can be controlled by events configured in the device and remotely from the mobile app as well, or from the web interface of the device. The transparent RS-232 port can be used to send and receive data over the internet. You can use this, for example, to program the connected alarm control panel remotely, or to retrieve information from parking pay machines or soft drink or soft drink or food dispensers, or any other equipment provided with an RS-232 port. You can link up to 6 IP bridge devices with each other for cross-control. Inputs of an IP bridge can control the outputs of another IP bridge remotely over the internet. You can use this feature to transmit dry contacts between sites. The device can supervise the router to which it is connected and can restart the router if necessary. For example, when connection problems occur or the router freezes, which used to happen, unfortunately. And the last one, you can associate up to 4 IP cameras with events in the device, and camera pictures will be sent to the central monitoring station. Even sending the stream is possible if you are using our monitoring software. Or at the same time, the pictures can be sent to users as attachments to emails when the given events occur to which the cameras are associated. Okay, let's see the product models. Based on the hardware, there is a variant with a modem and one without a built-in modem. The variant with a modem can use a SIM card, so it will connect to the CMS and can also be used with the mobile applications through the SIM card, through the mobile internet. This one also has an antenna connector. Okay, the version with the modem is available in 4G and 3G variants, so with a 3G modem or a 4G modem. Based on the software, we have a standard and a pro version. The Pro version comes with some extra functions, which I will show later. Let's see what else we have on the hardware. We have a line output. This provides an emulated phone line, a standard phone line of 48 volts, which you can connect to the alarm system in order to receive the communication from the alarm control panel. It has 6 contact inputs, and it has the RS-232 port, RX, TX, and GND. And the last one is the voltage input, where you can use 12 to 24 volts DC. And on this side, it has the 6 normally open relay contact outputs, which you can control remotely or by events. The mobile application is available in the App Store for iPhones and on Google Play for Android devices. The application is called Tel Control Center. Let's see how the device works. Now I have connected the device to an alarm control panel, which I will show you in a second. Just have to share the screen of my phone. Okay. Here it is. So here's the IP bridge. It is connected to the internet using a LAN cable, and it is connected to the phone line input of the alarm control panel, through which it receives the communication from the alarm control panel, and the RS-232 port is also connected through a level driver interface to the panel, which enables us to remotely program the alarm control panel through the internet. Now, if we want to arm and disarm the system, we can do that, for example, from the mobile application. If we have connected one of the outputs of the device to the input, to one of the inputs on the alarm control panel, and program the given input for arming and disarming. Now I have done this, so I can arm and disarm the device using the first output, which is the alarm system arm and disarm. This is the name of that output. You can change the name in the settings of the mobile application. Okay, and I have received a push notification that the system is armed. I have done that using the programmable output of the device, of the alarm control panel. So I have connected the programmable output to one of our inputs, to input 1. And this will also enable me to see the status of the given partition. So see now, partition status is active. If we disarm the system, the partition status will change automatically to inactive, so the system is disarmed and the push notification arrives too. You can control all the 6 outputs from here, from the mobile application, and you can also configure whether you want to switch on and off manually the given input, the given output, or if you want to do a momentary control for 1 or 3 seconds. You can configure that in the settings of the device, which you can find here in the menu, in the device settings menu. We have to select the given IP bridge, and here you can change the name of the inputs, the name of the outputs, and you can also select impulse control, where you can configure the time for the impulse. Okay, so now output 3 has been configured to 1 second impulse. Here you can also change the icon of the device if you want, and you can also change the name of the device. Now let's go back to the dashboard, select the given device, and you can see that output 3 can now be controlled for 1 second, and it turns off automatically. Now, let's receive a message about an alarm. For this, we will arm the system first. I do that with a push button on an input. And now let's make an alarm. We have to wait until the alarm control panel communicates, sends the given report. And now we got the alarm. And a camera is also associated with this event. So the application automatically asks if I want to see the picture of the camera. Now I will turn off the alarm system. Okay, and let's see the picture of the camera. Okay, this is our test camera, which is the production line at TEL. Okay, so that's how the mobile application works. Now let's see how it communicates with the receiver at the same time. This is our TEL1 receiver, which I have configured in the device. And we are expecting messages with account ID 2111. So let's say if I arm the system, and make an alarm, we have received the arming message, and next will be the alarm message. That's it, burglar alarm in zone 4. And the restore message for the given alarm. And then the disarming message should also arrive. There it is, key switch open. Okay, let's see how we can program this device. How can we access the settings of the device? Now, the device's user interface can be accessed through its IP address. You can find the IP address using the IP bridge detector software designed for this purpose, which you can download from our website in the download section of the product. Or you can also look up the IP address in your router. The device uses DHCP by default, but you can also configure a static IP if needed, and other network settings as well, using a USB flash drive. For this, you have to insert a flash drive in the host port of the device, which I will show you in a moment. If I have a picture about that. Yeah. So this is the host port where you can insert the flash drive. And the device will write the current network settings in a file on the drive, which you can then edit and change. Reinserting the flash drive with the changed settings will update the settings in the device. The detector software will show you the local IP address which you can use in your local network only. But if you configure the port forward in your router, you can access the IP bridge interface from anywhere over the internet. Of course, for this, the router should have a static IP or should use thin DNS. Now, if we click on the search button, it will start scanning the network, and we can see that it finds one IP bridge now. This one is online, this is ours, and here you can see the local IP address of the given device. If you copy this and paste into a browser, here, this will open the user interface of the device, and you have to log in here. The device uses two passwords, an admin and a user password. The admin can access everything, while the user cannot access settings. Now, let's log in. The default username and password is admin and admin, but I have already changed the password. Now, on this page, you can see the status of the device. At the top, you can see the firmware version. You can change the language. And here in the settings, you can choose a user view where you can only control the device and see the status. Or you can choose the admin view where you can see the settings as well. For the settings, you can enable and disable functions. So if there are functions which you don't want to use, you can disable. For example, if you don't use monitoring station, you can disable this. And in that case, the settings for the given function will not appear in the settings menu. So you will get a more clear interface. With the configuration download and upload buttons, you can save the current settings of the device, or you can upload settings from file. Using the logout button, you can log out and close the interface. Here in the header, you can see some status information, such as the current date and time, the line status. Now you see it's on hook, so it's inactive. If you click on this, a line monitor will open, where you can monitor on a graph and also with logs the communication on the line. So if there is a problem with the communication between the alarm control panel and the IP bridge, this will help you detect the problem. So, well, let's start the communication just to show you how it works. Click on Start Line Debugging. So we see an off hook, and then the communication starts. Write cycles are the signals emitted by the IP bridge, while the read cycles are the signals sent by the alarm control panel. But we can also see here in the logs that the dial number was 123. No matter what the dial number is, the IP bridge will send the handshake signal, and the panel will start the communication. And then you can see the contact ID messages coming from the panel. Okay, what else we have here? We have the status of the 6 contact inputs. Now I have added a name for input number 1, which I use for the partition status. Now we can see that it's idle. And here we can control all the 6 outputs manually. We have an activate and deactivate button for that. As I have mentioned, the outputs can also be controlled by events in the device. And if an output is set to be controlled by events, if you want to control it manually, you have to bypass the control by events, and then you can control manually the given output. So if I want, I can arm and disarm the system from this interface as well. Okay, so we see that now the partition is active, and if I activate and deactivate the relay again, it will turn the partition off. Below, we can see the status of the 6 receivers which you can program. Now we can see that we have 1 receiver online. And in the event logs, you can see the events which are generated in the device. This will also show you the input events and the internal events of the IP bridge. There are also some service events which you can configure. And it will also show you the events coming from the alarm control panel. The green ticks indicate where the reports have been sent. Basically, I have configured the reports to be sent to the receiver, which is receiver number 1. So these 6 are the receivers. Then 4 phone numbers for calls using voice over IP. 4 phone numbers for sending SMS, still using voice over IP. A camera picture if it has been recorded. Email sending is also possible. Uploading to FTP or sending directly to the TMS software, and relay control, and sending push notifications to up to 4 mobile devices. If you want to download earlier events, you can do that here in this section. Well, let's download last 20 events. We can see them here. You can also save a CSV. Now let's see the settings of the device. The settings you can find in different menus. In the first menu, you can configure the events of the device. Here you can find the 6 input events, new events and restore events. The service events available in the device, such as battery fault, or even the temper event, or periodic test report. Mobile internet connection events, SIM card events. And below you can add the filters for events coming from the alarm control panel. Of course, these are not added by default. You have to add these manually. Now I have added events for zone number 3, which is a fire alarm event, for zone number 4, which is a burglar alarm event, and I have also added the battery fault and the battery restore events. And other events are all processed and sent to the monitoring station. but I use only these 4 events to send messages to mobile phones, which you can configure here in these sections. So the first one is the input properties menu, where you can choose the normally open or normally closed state of the inputs, or enable the end-of-line register if you are using that on the input, configure the input sensitivity, or even bypass the given input if it has a failure or if you don't want to use it. In the second, under the second tab, you can configure the contact ID codes for the given input. The default is 130, which is the burglar alarm. You can also configure the partition number and the zone number. These are also available for the service events. Service events are also configured by default, but you can change if you are using a different contact ID code for the given event. Next one is the monitoring station settings. With this option, you can enable direct sending to our TMS software. So the device can send reports to the TMS software even without a receiver. Next option is enable reporting. So if this is disabled, the given event will never be reported to the monitoring station. So you have to enable this if you want to use the given event for reporting. And next, you can select a server group where reporting should be done. The servers and server groups you can configure here in the servers section. I will show you this a little bit later. We will talk about that, but let's finish first with the events. Next up is email sending. You can send emails about each event. Emails you can configure by clicking here on the edit button. You can enter more than one email addresses separated by comma. You can add the subject and the message itself. You can also test using this button, so this will send a test message to the given email addresses. In the camera settings section, you can enable cameras for the given events, and you can select a camera from the 4 cameras which you can configure in the device. So that's where you can associate cameras with events. So when the given event occurs, the picture of the given camera will be sent to the mobile application and also to the monitoring station, or uploaded to FTP or sent by email as attachments. The device stores automatically the pictures of the cameras on its storage, and when an event occurs, it will automatically send 5 still pictures about the given event, 2 pictures before the event occurred, 1 picture right when the event occurred, and 2 pictures after the occurrence. Next one is the voice over IP settings. That's where you can enable calls to up to 4 phone numbers, which you can configure here in the voice over IP settings menu. Here you can select the acknowledgement method. So no acknowledgement means that you don't have to acknowledge the call. So receiving the call will automatically acknowledge the given event, but you can stop sending calls about that event to other phone numbers. The next option is that you have to press the start button in order to acknowledge the given call. Otherwise, the device will call you again. And the last one will acknowledge the events even if you reject the call. And here, with the edit button, you can upload audio files to be played in the given call. For that, you can use the MP3 file format. In this section, you can enable SMS sending to up to 4 phone numbers, which you can also configure here in in the VoIP menu here. And with the edit button, you can configure the message to be sent to the given numbers about that event. And the last one is push notification sending to up to 4 mobile devices, which you can configure here in the mobile application menu. So that's where you can add the 4 mobile devices. Using the edit button, you can configure the message to be sent, just like for the SMS. Okay, let's see how you can add a filtered event here. So for the events coming from the alarm control panel, you can select the type of the event, which can be new or restore or any. You can select the contact ID code. For that, you can use the search tool here. So here in this section, you can find all the events and the event names which you want to use. Here you can search, for example, burglar events. It will show you that is 1, which is a new event, and 130, and the restoral begins with 3. So if you want to send messages about burglary events, you choose this. You can enter the partition number and the zone number. So the IP bridge will filter this event, and if this event occurs, it will send the associated notifications, which you can do here under these tabs as I have shown for the given events. Let's see, next is the general menu. Here you can change the name of the device. You can configure the user account ID for the given device. So the device will send the contact ID messages to the monitoring station about its own events, which are the input events and service events, with this account ID here. This can be the same as the account ID configured in the alarm system. Text ID, this is for one of our older servers, so you don't need to configure that. Input event limit, here you can configure, you can limit alarms sent by the inputs. Now I have this set to 99 events per hour, so this can be used if you want to protect to avoid sending too many messages if the given input, let's say, fails and sends messages instantly. In the user section, you can configure the username and the password. So that's where you can change the username and password for the two levels. If you want, you can also use a radius server, which will enable you to use any number of any number of users with their own username and password. So this is only for logging in here to this interface. In this section, you can change the language of the device, so it will send the notifications in that language. The device time you can configure here. You can choose to be set by an NTP server, which you can configure here in the advanced settings menu. And you can also select the time zone where the given device has been installed. The first day of the week, Sunday or Monday, for international use. You can also use HTTPS if you want. That's a little bit slower, but of course provides a higher security. The device can also use UPnP if it is enabled in your router, so it will open the necessary ports automatically if this is enabled in your router. Otherwise, you have to open the ports manually to do the port forwarding. In this section, you can select the default network which will be used by the device. So if you have a device with a built-in modem, you can also choose to use the modem as primary, or the modem primary and backup the Ethernet port, or only the Ethernet port. You can also change this setting for the servers one by one, but here you have a default setting which is used over the settings. In this section, you can configure the network settings if necessary, so you can change if needed. Here you can change the web server ports for the HTTPS and HTTP. Here you can configure ping servers for detecting the internet, intranet, and mobile internet failures. But if you don't configure this, detection will also be done automatically by the device. Of course, in that case, it will not use the servers which you can configure here. It will use default servers. Here in this section, you can configure special parameters for the SLIC, which is the circuit that that emulates the phone line. So change this only when really necessary. So if the given alarm control panel cannot communicate with the IP bridge. These settings are very sensitive, so I suggest that you ask us to change these settings if you have problems with a given alarm control panel. You can set a log of timeouts, so you see that the device starts counting the time here. So if you don't click anywhere, it will log off automatically after this time has expired. A ban time setting is also available. So if you fail to log in 10 times consecutively, the device will ban the given IP address from which you are logging in for 60 minutes. For power supply monitoring, you can change the thresholds for power failure and power restore, of course, depending on what voltage level you are using. Okay, sorry, we have to admit someone. Okay. SIM pin and APN settings. So if you want to log the SIM card with a PIN code, you can do that. In that case, enable PIN code request on the SIM card using a mobile phone and enter the SIM pin in this section. The APN should be configured for the version with the modem. So the access point name is used to connect to the mobile internet. You can get the APN name from the service provider where you have purchased the given SIM card. In some cases, a username and password is also required. You can get this from the service provider if they require using these parameters. For the version with the modem, you have these settings where you can select the network to be automatic or manual. If you select manual, you can choose the operator or even select log the device on 3G or 4G, depending on what modem it uses. Now I don't want to change these settings, so I will cancel. That's where you can configure the FTP availability for uploading the camera pictures. You can also select the network, the interface, sorry, which should be used for uploading the pictures. In this section, you can configure the direct connection with the TMS software if you are using our monitoring software. There is an update server. We have a default server which the device uses. So when an update is available for an IP bridge, the given IP bridge will find the update on that server and will send a notification to you. So you will see that updates are available. You can also configure how to do this. So if you disable update check, it won't check for updates, but you can check and notify, check, notify, and download updates, check, notify, download, and install updates automatically. And here in this section, you can also see a release notes about the given update. Now we see that no updates are available because this 221 is the latest software. Here in the update server section, you can configure your own update server if you are using the device in a private network. So in that case, the device might not access our default server, but you can put the updates on one of your servers and configure the path where the IP bridge devices will find the updates. And last one here, you can do a factory reset if necessary. Now in the server section, you can configure up to 6 receivers with the IP address, port number, and you can even select the default network to be used for that receiver. You can select the protocol, which can be the text MVP. This is an old protocol of ours. The Telmon, which works with our Telmon receiver. This can be TCP or UDP. And the CIP, which is the DC09 protocol, also available with TCP and UDP. Here you can enable and disable the supervision messages, but this is not available for the text and the Telnet protocol because supervision messages are required for these protocols. And here you can configure the interval of supervision message sending. If you choose the DC09 protocol, you can also configure additional parameters for the given protocol, such as an account prefix, which will be added in front of the account number, receiver number, response timeout, maximum transmission attempt count, and connection control period. And also you can configure an encryption key, an AES key, which can be a text or a hexadecimal format. So if you are using this, the messages sent will be encrypted, and you have to use the same key on the receiver side to decrypt the messages. And in this section here, you can configure up to 6 server groups, where you can add the receivers configured here, and you can choose which to be the primary and which to be the backup servers. Messages will be sent to the primary servers, to all primary servers, and the backup servers will only be used if sending to primary ones fail. In the remote modules section, you can configure the availability of up to 6 other IP bridge devices. So you can add a name for that, the IP address, the port number. The 443 is the default port used by the devices, the username and the password for the given device. And here you can also test the connection. What is this good for? I have mentioned at the beginning that you can link devices with each other, and you can these devices can control each other's outputs. So any event from the device can be configured to control an output on a remote device. The same can be done with the serial port. So you can link the serial port of this device with the serial port of one of the 6 devices configured here. Or you can use it in receive-only mode, which means that this device will receive the data entered on the serial port on any other device. So in the other devices, of course, you configure here the availability of this device, and in that case, the data from the serial port will be sent to this device. So this device will collect the data, and you can store that on a server or do whatever you want with the data collected. Okay. For this connection, you can choose the connection type to be continuous or only connect when necessary, so when there is data to send. Of course, that works in the mode where you send and receive data to a specific device. You can also choose the default network used for data sending, and delays and port settings are also available for this. In the outputs menu, you can add a name to each output. You can choose the normally open or normally closed state of the output. And here you can add events which will control the output. So we have this for internal events, which are the input events and the service events of the device, and the external events, which are events received from a connected alarm control panel. Let's see how we do this. So we add an event. You can select which event to use. So these are the internal events. Let's say input number 2 on this device should control remove device number 2, which we have not named now, but if we add a name to that remove device, it will show us the name. So which output to control, output number 3. If you want to set a delay, we can do that. And how to control the given output, state change, permanent timed on or permanently on or off. For the timed setting, we can also configure the time to turn on. Okay, but also local events can control a local output, so the output of the same device, for which we can also select the same parameters. For the external events, here you can select the events which you have added to the filter in the events menu. So we have added the burglar alarm for zone number 4, if you remember. This can control also a local output or an output of a removed device. In this menu, you can configure the Reuters Supervision. So the device can supervise the router to which it is connected and can restart the router if necessary. Here you can select a server manually, or so for the pings, you can select a custom server, or you can use Google DNS or other options which are available here. And you can also configure the ping intervals, and the ping interval can be changed when ping fails. So it will send pings more frequently in this case. For a router restart, you have a soft restart and a cold restart. Soft restart is done by sending an SSH message to the router, which can be a custom message or can be one of those available here. For the connection with the router, you can also configure the SSH port, the authentication, and the number of pings for failed attempts, and how long to suspend monitoring after a router restart to let the router connect to the internet and to the local network. Here you can, the device can detect the router IP automatically, or you can set it manually if needed. For the cold restart, you can configure one of the outputs of the given device or a removed device. So you can choose, let's say, output number 2 to be controlled in order to cut the power of the given router, of course, if the given router supports this or resists. Here you can also set the activation time, so how long the power should be cut, and number of warm restart attempts before a cold restart. So how many warm restart attempts should be made in order to make a cold restart thereafter. So if it fails to restart the router with soft commands, let's say 4 times, in that case do a cold restart. And also suspend monitoring after restart to let the router connect. In the cameras section, you can configure the 4 cameras. A search tool is integrated here in the device. When you enter in this menu, it will automatically scan the local network for cameras. You can see it has found 2 cameras. One of them is locked with a username and password, so you can access the given camera only if you enter the username and password. But the other one is not locked, so you can see the profiles available in the camera. There is a high resolution profile and a lower resolution profile. And for that, you can find the stream URLs here and the snapshot URLs here. So if you want to use this camera, depending on which profile you want to use, just click on Add to List, and it will add the given camera in the list. Then you can add a name to that given camera. And when this is done, save, and then you can add the cameras to events here in the events menu. For voice over IP settings, here you can select the server which you are using. There are some pre-configured service providers. We use this mostly. VoIP Placer. If you select a provider from the list, the device will automatically fill in the necessary settings. So you only have to enter the username, the password, and the number for SMS sending. But if you want to configure this manually, of course, you can do that too using the custom option. And in this section, you can configure the 4 phone numbers for calls and 4 phone numbers for the SMS messages. In the mobile application section, you can add up to 4 mobile devices. How you do that? First of all, you have to enable the cloud. So if the cloud is disabled, the device cannot connect to the cloud, and in that case, mobile applications cannot connect to the device. Let me share my screen once again. Okay, so you can register the mobile application as follows. Here in the settings, you have the Add New Device option. You have to click on this QR code button, and the QR code is different for each slot. So basically, you have to press on this button here, and then read the QR code from the device. Now it tells me that this device has already been added, so that's why I cannot add it again, even if I choose another QR code. So I have to delete the the given device here. Sorry, I have not saved the settings here. Okay, let's do it again. Okay, the device is now deleted. I have to do the same in the mobile application. Okay, and now I can add the device. I have to enter my name. Sorry, not my name, the username, which is the admin, and the password for the admin, and enter a device name. Next. And it's done. So we can find the device here in this section, and you can control the outputs. If we refresh the settings here, the given mobile app will appear here in the settings. Okay, and last one is the reports. So the device can send the reports by email. For example, it can send the event logs to even more than one email addresses separated by comma. And it can send the event logs daily, weekly, or monthly according to the settings. And in this section, you can select which events to be sent in the reports. The smart menu, here in this menu, you can view status of the SD card installed in the device. So this device uses an SD card and a Linux-based operating system. So this section shows you the lifetime and other information about the SD card.